Hello, this is Dan Lyons from howtomakepodcastlikeapro.com. Well, today I thought I would make this video talking about podcasting equipment. I'm just about to head off to go and speak at Blog World New Media Expo about podcasting. And I've been meeting up recently with the guys on my panel, and we've been talking about some of the common questions that folks have when they're about to start their own podcast. And one of the big things that we're talking about at the moment is podcasting equipment. So I wanted to make this video for you and show you that there is a couple of different options that you have when it comes to setting up your own podcast. So let's take a look. And by the way, when I'm talking about podcasts here, I'm talking about audio podcasting. Okay, so essentially there's two methods. There is the mixer method, and then there is the minimalist method. So in today's video, I'm going to explain to you the mixer method and how this works, and then I'll make another video about the minimalist method. Okay, so the mixer method involves, pretty obviously, a mixer, and this is a picture of a really basic mixer up the top here. So what does a mixer do? Well, a mixer is something that we plug our microphone into, and then we plug the mixer into our actual computer. So what are all these sort of complicated knobs and everything? What are they all about on this mixer? Well, essentially, look at those knobs, or the main knobs, as volume knobs. So they adjust the volume of the signal. So as I'm talking into my microphone, I can adjust the volume of that so that when it's being recorded, it can be recorded very quietly or very loudly or somewhere in the middle, which is where we basically want it to be. Also, the good thing about using a mixer is it has channels. So what are channels? Well, channels basically give you the option of adding other inputs at a later date. So say, for example, if I'm just starting up a podcast and I'm the only one talking behind the microphone, then one channel is okay. But with a mixer, if you have two channels, then when I decide to get a co-host on the show, then we've always got room for growth. So that is a good thing. So a mixer offers scope to grow your show, because sometimes when you're starting out, you don't know that you're going to be hosting with somebody else a year or two down the track. Now, some mixers also have basic EQ settings. Now, we're not going to go into detail here about EQ. I'll give you a brief overview. EQ stands for equalization, and it's the ability to manipulate certain frequencies within the audio to give us a better sound. So the best explanation that I can actually give you for this is, you know, when you're listening to a Barry White song and you've got that big bassy Barry White sort of sound, okay? That song has been EQ'd so that the bass frequencies have been brought right up in the mix, which means it sounds very, very bassy. So that's what I mean by equalization. So some mixers have basic EQ settings like the one that we're actually looking at here. So you can actually adjust the bass on that. So if you want to increase the bass, you just turn up the knob. You want to turn it down, you just turn it the other way. Now, what this means is it can save a bit of time in post-production. So post-production is after we've recorded our podcast. And what a lot of podcasters like to do after they've finished recording is go and put the equalization over the audio at that point through a bit of software like Audacity. But if you use a mixer method, you don't really need to do that, because your voice is being equalized as you're actually talking and as it's being recorded. The other thing about the mixer method is it's more expensive. The other thing about the mixer method is more expensive mixers actually have built-in compressors. So a compressor basically evens out the volume of your sound. So it brings the highest bits, the loudest bits lower, and the lowest bits higher. So everything's sort of meeting in the middle. So some really expensive mixers have built-in compressors. Now this means that you can actually compress the signal as it's being recorded, much like the equalization. To be honest, my experience is I've played around with mixers with these built-in compressors and I haven't had a great result with them. I've found that they've actually increased the noise that is actually on the recording, so I wasn't particularly happy with them. Okay, so the second step of having the mixer method is to get yourself an XLR microphone. So what does XLR stand for? Well, that's the type of plug that an XLR microphone actually uses. It's like a 3-pin plug. So what does that mean? Well, that means that we can't plug this microphone directly into your computer, which is a bit of a bummer. It means we have to rely on other equipment. This is where the mixer comes in. So we then plug the XLR microphone into the mixer, and the mixer plugs into your computer. Okay, see how this is getting a little bit complicated. So it needs a mixer not only to function in terms of being recorded, but also for some XLR microphones, they need the phantom power. So what does phantom power mean? Well, phantom power means that the microphone itself, when it's standing there by itself, isn't going to work. It's going to need to rely off another power source, and that's why we plug it into the mixer, because it's using the phantom power of the mixer to actually function. The good thing about XLR microphones is they're industry standard, so they're used right across the board in professional audio, in studio recordings, in live events. You will only ever see the professionals using an XLR microphone. They're very good quality, and generally they're very robust. So now that we have a microphone with the mixer method, you're going to need something to hold the microphone, and preferably it's not going to be your hand. Why is that? Well, when you're moving your hand around, which you do really on minute sort of scales, you move your hand just ever so slightly, it might be a tremor or whatever, the microphone is so sensitive that it will actually pick up that movement, and you will have this sound, this awful sort of scratching sound going through the entire wave you're recording. So what professional radio broadcasters like myself use is an actual microphone stand, and I've got a picture of one here which actually clasps onto your desk, which is really cool. You don't even have to drill a hole in it. Now, you can get a lot of these on eBay. What this boom mic stand actually does for me is it enables me to secure my mic to it. It eliminates the noise because it's like a mechanical arm, if you will. I just pull the microphone over when I need to use it and push it away when I don't. The problem with a stand like this is it's not entirely portable. Try getting it through customs. Good luck. The other thing is a lot of these boom stands can be cheap and nasty. The cheaper ones generally fall to bits and don't take long to do it either. If you want to get yourself a really good microphone stand, you will need to invest over $100, okay? So you might need to spend some money. The other thing about the mixer method, which not a lot of people talk about, but this is certainly a pet hate of mine, is the overinflux of leads. There are so many leads. You will need a ton of leads. I'm just looking down to my mixer at the moment, and I've got 2 leads coming out of it going to my computer. I've got a lead from my computer going back into it. I've got a lead going into my headphones and coming back out. My microphone's going back in and coming back out, and then the power supply. There's loads of leads. If you don't have an aversion to leads, then it's not going to be an issue, but I thought I'd let you know. So it can get very, very messy very, very quickly. And again, leads, not so portable. If you need to go overseas or you need to travel and take your equipment, it's not going to be an easy venture. The other method, when it comes to the mixer method, the other way of recording people like to talk about is a digital recorder. So this means that you would plug your microphone into your mixer, and then you would actually record your audio in one of these puppies, which is like a digital recorder. This is like an Edirol digital recorder. Now, the reason that people love digital recorders who sort of love the mixer method is because they say that it reduces recording noise. So what do they mean by that? Well, in days gone by, when you actually recorded directly into your computer, the sound cards were so rubbish that generally you would pick up a lot of electronic noise as you were actually going into your computer. Now, I must say that has actually improved dramatically, although there still is occasionally some noise that you will hear. But, and this is a very big but, you're only going to hear it if you're listening out for it and if you're an absolute purist. I'll tell it like this. The Everyday Joe blogs couldn't care. It doesn't really fuss them or faze them. Audio nerds are the people that get really hung up on this stuff, okay? And there's no need to do it. Yes, it reduces recording noise, but I don't think that's a big issue. The other thing is people say that this is a good method of recording because there's less chance of crashing than computers. Well, look, I would agree with that. But to counter that, I would also say let's not forget that this device actually runs on batteries. Now, I don't know that I've actually ever encountered a more unreliable power source than batteries. I've been at several events where I've needed to take a portable device that's been reliant on batteries, and twice I've had the situation where they've absolutely conked out on me. So I'm just putting that out there to let you know. The really cool thing about these devices is they have inbuilt microphones for portable recording, like I just mentioned. So you can literally take one of these things, go out on the street, get an interview and do your recording like that. So you don't need to lug around the rest of your equipment. And if you spend a little bit of money on these digital recorders, the microphone quality can actually be very, very good. And I do say that you need to spend a bit of money if you're going to get a good quality one. They can be expensive, about $400 and up. So let's look at the pros of the mixer method again. That's all the equipment, by the way. The first thing is, okay, let's agree that we're going to get better sound. It's not a massive improvement in sound, but you will get better sound if you're an audio purist. It also gives you room for growth. So we want to get another co-host in. We can do that pretty easily if we get a mixer with 2 or more channels. And like we talked about with the mixers, some of them have got built-in EQ and compression in the mixer, which can save you a lot of time and even a bit of money. What are the cons of the mixer method? Well, it's certainly less portable, isn't it? Loads of equipment, takes up quite a bit of space around the house. Just ask my wife about that. More leads, and it can be more expensive. So there you go. And also technically challenging. There's a lot of stuff that you do need to kind of understand about where to plug what and all the rest of it. So that is the mixer method. Very soon I'm going to make another video explaining what's perhaps my preferred method. It's called the minimalist method of podcasting. Well, at least that's what I call it. And essentially it only involves 2 bits of equipment. One, which you already have. If you're keen to find out more about it, just go to howtomakepodcasts.likeapro.com and check out video part 2. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to catching up again soon.